Beautiful. And we are live. Hello, and welcome to the Hedonistic Way online summit, where we are having unadulterated pillow talk with global thought leaders who are disrupting the status quo, kicking ass in life and in business, and living stereo untypical success. Today, I am introducing you guys to a beautiful soul, Keri, and she teaches you how to live a life that is epic and how to manifest in a way that takes conscious effort. So you're aware of what you actually are manifesting. And we're going to talk about the variety of tools that we can use to create this epic life. But what I love about Keri is she's an absolute no bullshit, straight shooter. She tells it how it is, but she's not afraid to go deep and work on the transpersonal stuff for us to live this amazing life, and one that is absolutely friggin' juicy. So welcome, Keri.
Thank you, Renee. That was a beautiful introduction. And the entire time I was thinking, all I want to do is take a pillow and throw it at you because we're having pillow talk.
Pillow talk, not a pillow fight. We can do that too, you know.
We can do that too. No, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here with you.
You are. I'm glad. I'm really honoured that that you're here. So, you know, as you know, we were talking like off air just before about how, you know, I wanted to keep this summit, you know, I'd prefer to have people who bring in speakers and these leaders who are absolutely aligned to the hedonistic way that I feel genuinely connected to, instead of having this massive, you know, this massive pool of speakers and leaders that aren't really aligned. And you and I are absolutely aligned in, you know, sometimes I feel like we're talking to the same people, right? You know, because often what's coming up in our awareness is exactly the same at the same time, which is really
at the same time.
Yeah, even our past. Like I was saying to my partner I don't even know why I'm saying this, but anyway, you know, it's you know, I feel like we've lived this parallel life of, you know, the synchronicities have been amazing.
Absolutely. And the more that we get to know each other, I agree with you. And like you find out like, yeah, I did that too. Oh, I had that problem too. Oh yeah, I'm overcoming that one too.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that comes down to a testament to you as well, because it's about doing that work and being able to be vulnerable and revealing enough that we get to learn that about each other. Absolutely. And I think that's part of what you're preaching here in that hedonistic way is, you know, to have that vulnerability and the realness, and to really be willing to go in deep and do the work inside and share that, not just within ourselves, but in the world, to help the world to, and for me, I do it to help people to be able to know they're not alone, and to be able to name it, and to be able to realize there's a way through it. And I think that so often, until people like us go out there and share our stories, people feel alone, and they don't know how to go through, and they don't know there's a way. They don't even know there's like, you know, like I think of, oh my goodness, I'm going to start this right here, right? Yeah. I think of my journey with binge eating. And it wasn't until I read a book about binge eating, I knew I had a problem, but I didn't even know what it was called to say. How do I get help for this? Like, it wasn't anorexia, it wasn't bulimia. I'm not vomiting. I'm not starving myself. So what is it? And then finally, someday, I remember when I was breastfeeding my son, and this book pops up for me, and I was like, I have to read that book. What is this? And it was thank goodness for this person for writing the book, who actually is still a part of my life and still a massive catalyst for change in my life. That I could name that and then go and find help for it.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's ultimately the beauty of what we do in sharing the vulnerabilities, is that we help people to name what's going on and realize that it's okay to have these problems. It's okay to be going through, and there is a way out. There is a way through.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is what you just saying that is, for me, I think the shame about it, you know, and
about everything.
And no matter what your thing is, because everybody's got a thing, you know, everyone
At least one.
had a vibe, got a vibe. Like, no one's got their shit together in all areas, and it's constantly evolving. But we are so ashamed to actually admit it. And that's what I love about you and I and everyone that I'm talking to for the summit, is that we're walking our talk and we're exposing our vulnerabilities. And by us doing that, hopefully we can create a space, and we have to believe that we're creating a space for others to do the same.
I absolutely agree. You know, I can't imagine. I mean, because this last year, I know for myself, I've put myself out there vulnerably a lot more than ever before.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that I would have been called to do that if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to help create real change in this world and to give people a space to truly heal. And have a place to know that they're seen and heard, and that they're not alone. They're not alone on the journey. And, you know, and I think especially in this online world now, you know, I started in this industry 12 years ago, and, you know, back then there was a lot of dangling carrots, and there still is. I think people are seeing through it now, though. And I think that people need to be held in the realness of what happens. It's not just like show up and oh voila, overnight I'm a success. Like, hell fucking no.
That's right.
You know, and it's about talking about what really happens and what we have to overcome, and looking within that you actually get your success.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that transformation of self is so crucial to any growth you have in your business, in your career, in your life. Like, they're all one, right? So absolutely, I agree. Tell me, before I love how we just sink into this deep dive.
We don't know how to do it differently.
That's it. But I want to know, what is your nickname?
What do I call myself?
Yeah, what's your nickname?
The Manifesting Queen.
What is your personal nickname?
Oh, my personal. Oh, all right. I have a couple of them. No one's asked me that question. Care Bear is what my mom calls me.
Care Bear.
Or Bear.
Yeah.
Or Bear.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when I started doing my shamanic training, to find my spirit animal, my medicine, the bear kept coming through, and it took me a year to accept it. Yeah. And it's a long, funny journey. But finally, one of my friends was like, something else showed up for me, and she's like, Keri. And then I laughed that I took a year for me to accept this thing that my mom had been calling me my whole life. Bear. So my mom and my brother call me Bear.
I love it.
When I was growing up, this is funny because for those of you who don't know me, my accent may sound a little bit funny because I'm from America, but I lived in Australia for 14 years. And I always say that the stars always aligned for me to be in Australia because, and one of the things that happened when I was a little girl, when I was in high school, maybe a little bit younger than that, maybe even 12 or 13, we were on a family trip, and my cousins named me because of my laugh, Keri Kookaberry, after the kookaburra from Australia. Yeah. And so all the way through high school.
I had two in my backyard last night. Sorry, just saying.
They're my favorite. And I remember I'd wake up in Australia, and it just made me so happy to hear the kookaburras. I was like, I know that you're annoying me, that you're waking me now, but the laugh, it just makes me laugh. I just, how can you not? Yeah. And so then in high school, I became Kooks, or Keri Kooks. They started calling me Keri Kooks. And even on my license plate was Kooks. So that was one of my major names. And yeah, I think those are two of my most common names that people would call me. And or, Australia, Keza. Right? Good old Aussies.
Who we nickname everything. And it's not even to shorten it. Sometimes we make short names long. So it actually really doesn't make sense. But it's something that's, I don't know, like it's just in our blood.
It's hilarious.
It's so funny. My friend Karen, her mother named her Karen, so it was one syllable. It couldn't be, well, it's not one syllable, it's two syllables, isn't it? But anyway, and so she didn't want it to be shortened. And she's like, and they're from South Africa. So then and then they moved to Australia. She's like, you guys, but because they will move from South Africa. So it was Corin. So when she moved to Australia, it was Corin, but then Australians, just everyone in school just couldn't say Corin, so it was Karen. And then from Karen, people started to call it Kaz. So now to my girls, she's Auntie Kaz, but
which is nothing even close to her name.
But she hated it. But she's like, you guys are the only people that can get away with it. It's the funniest thing. I love nicknames. Okay, so which one do you feel more aligned to?
Of my nicknames?
Yeah. Bear or Kooks?
Bear.
Bear, yeah. I knew you were going to say that. Cool. We can kind of see it a little bit, but what's on your bedside table?
Yeah, look. It's my Himalayan pink salt lamp.
Yeah.
On one side.
Beautiful.
And on the other side, I have a candle going and my journal, of course.
Beautiful.
Because the journal follows me everywhere I go. And I wake up in the morning, and this is a new habit. Oh, this is a new thing I'm really, really working on, and I noticed you are as well. Phone out of the room.
Yes.
Journal next to the bed.
Yes.
Wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And in my daisy sleepy state, I'm like, even my eye this morning was still kind of half awake, half asleep. But in that, isn't that a beautiful time to journal? Because it's still all channeling through, and there's no one who's come in and started to do it in my brain.
Yeah.
And it's like all the stuff that's been processing overnight right onto the pages. It's a beautiful habit. I noticed that you're doing that one too.
Yes, I am.
Phones out of the room. It's been amazing.
Yes. Love it. Love it. We've got an alarm clock. It didn't go off this morning. So my partner and I slept in. But really welcome sleep. So it didn't matter. But yeah, no, I'm loving that as well. Well, with that kind of rolls into my next question. What is turning you on at the moment?
What is turning me on at the moment? Ooh. Besides journaling. Journaling.
Yeah.
I'm getting really back into my gymnastics training again.
Yeah.
Just turning me on. And my deep work at the moment that's turning me on is love, self-love work. Yeah. Overcoming fear, going through fear and into self-love work. This is what's definitely, can I say literally turning me on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And outdoors. I've been enjoying being in them, even though it's winter here. No, it'd be too hard. Even though it's winter, I was going to say there's no snow on the ground actually. And it's cold. I've really been enjoying, like last weekend we were in the mountains. The weekend before was actually in California, but outside, and enjoying that. And just going out and really being on the land again, even though it's cold. Like I've had resistance around, it's cold, it's not, I just want to be back in Australia. But really embracing the seasons and the death season. It's quite interesting having lived in Australia for 14 years where winter isn't quite death. In the seasons, like we don't.
It is, but I know
it is.
For you who lives in Colorado, it would be like you guys like cold, like.
Right. Like, okay, I'll show you. I'm going to take you to my window and I'm going to show you because Australia doesn't have trees that look like that. Can you see out the window?
Yeah.
Right. That's death. There's nothing on the trees. Yeah. There's nothing on the flowers. There's nothing on the bushes, and it's like emptiness. And the grass, like we haven't had to mow the lawn in months because the grass just doesn't grow.
Yeah.
And so it's a true, like, it's that true feeling of the seasonal death.
Yes.
Yes. And so to really, and going deep with that work, right, to really embody the letting go process and the death of the ego part of us that doesn't serve us, And so it's a lot of what's been coming up in that fear stuff and letting go of that which doesn't serve. And it's such a beautiful, I say, it's reminding me to embody it as well. Because even in health, seasonally, right?
Yep.
Here there is like the bear wants to retreat and hibernate in the winter.
Absolutely, that's right.
And it's been funny because it's like, this is alignment, if we're going to talk alignment for a second. To really live in alignment with the season, because my bear self doesn't want to go out and walk every day. My bear self doesn't want to exercise every day. And for a while I was beating myself up going, well, why not? Come on, you like to do this. Like, this is part of your lifestyle. This is what you've been enjoying. Yeah. Why am I not feeling called to? Because I just haven't even wanted to. Yeah. And I'm working out like 3 or 4 times a week, whatever, but I'm not like, I could do more. Like often I will do 3 or 4 times a week, and I go and to the gym, and then I walk or whatever. Yeah. But it's that seasonal thing, and really embodying the season and the death and the ability to follow in the flow of what's going on in the earth, not just in my mind of what you're supposed to do and what you should do, and the beating yourself. We were talking about the self-talk. Yeah. And the beating yourself up over the shame of not. Yeah. Right? The shame. It's not, I'm ashamed that I didn't. Well, no, it's just I didn't because I didn't feel like it. Yeah. And so that's been an interesting process at the moment it's our first full year in the States. Yeah. So it's the first full year in cycles for 14 years that we're going through the whole seasonal thing. And it's been interesting to really embody the seasons in a different way, because it is different in Australia. It is different. Yeah. Even though, yes, it is winter, it is different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's cool. That's beautiful. I'm glad that, and again, it's full circle, so, which is nice.
Oh, and this other thing I'm really excited about.
Yes.
OMG. I am going, this is going to feel very vulnerable to say. Yes. But so in my shamanic work, something I've wanted to do for a while has been...
Your sound's just breaking up, Bella.
Ceremony with plant medicine.
Sorry, I heard plant medicine.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So to sit in circle and to do some of that work. And so just before, literally like 5 minutes before getting on this call, I put in my deposit. This is totally lighting me up and totally exciting me. Yeah. To go do my first ceremony in Sedona, which is like, if you haven't been, to anyone who's watching this who has not been to Sedona, get your butt over, skip LA, skip this silly concrete world that it is, and get your behind to Sedona. Because if you're watching this, you will feel like it's like the energy center of like America amazingness. And they talk about the energetic vortexes there, and holy dooly, I thought it was a whole, I'm into energy, and I thought it was like, yeah, whatever. And I went, oh my God, I was just like, yeah. So anyway, I'm really excited. So now I'm going to go and do this ceremony it's called Kambo in Sedona next month. So this is very exciting to me as well.
Awesome. That's
exploring new depths of the soul and reconnecting to soul.
Beautiful. Now, you have really been navigating through these deep waters at the moment. You really want to embody and encompass who you are, and combining that with what you learn. What are the key lessons and questions that you asked yourself in and around that?
In and around embodying what I learn?
Yeah. So taking everything that you know and combining it with everything that you learn, it's been, and as you were just saying, like, you have been exploring and you've been going deep, the past kind of, 12 months really. What questions have you been asking yourself? And what have you been exploring in that? So what are the key lessons that you've learned in that while you've been doing that?
Okay. So one of the first questions that brought me into a really deep place of love, which we were just talking about, was, and it's not a question now per se, like I feel like I'm kind of moved through that question, but still pops up sometimes, But it definitely was an introduction for me, was how can I like somebody I don't love? I mean, how can I love somebody? Sorry. How can I love somebody I don't like? So there's people in our lives, and I'm not going to say who, but there's maybe family members or very close people that you can't get rid of in your life.
Yes.
Well, you could, but it's a bit more challenging.
Yeah,
especially,
absolutely. Yep.
Right? Like family is family.
Yep.
And when they don't treat us very kindly or how we want to be treated, how can we like them? How can we love them even if you were my friend, I wouldn't have you as a friend.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so it opened up this whole conversation, because I was like, just because I don't like this person doesn't mean I can't love this person, and this person is going to be in my life. And it was really an opening to healing. And what I've discovered most recently about it is that it was never about the other person, it was about me. And the journey, this is what I was saying, has been to that self-love place, because all that person was doing was reflecting me. And I will actually go to say there have been a couple people in my life that have done such deep reflections of me and how much I was hating on myself that I saw it in them. And then I wanted to blame them and not like them, but really I was the one treating myself so badly. I was the one who was holding judgment to myself. I was the one who was doing that. And they were just reflecting that to me. Yeah. And it's a big journey. It's a big lesson, and it's a big owning. And I say that because to anyone who's watching, the people here would probably be open to that thought process.
Yes.
When you can move through that, and when you can truly find love for that other person, ultimately you're finding love for yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And the more that we find love for ourselves, for me, it's been such a huge release and an opening and freedom. It's a freedom, because all of a sudden I'm not carrying all that baggage with me, and the anger and the resentment and the feelings that go inside that actually, when we talk about manifesting and vibrationals, right? Yeah. That kept me at a lower vibration.
Yep.
I couldn't manifest what I really wanted, because vibrating, I was at anger and shame and judgment and blame, even though on the outside, right? How many people do we know that do this? Even though on the outside, it looks so perfect. The relationship looks good. The family looks good. You pretend there's a lot of money. There's a right? Oh, I'm really healthy, but in the background, I was binge eating, right?
And there may be a lot of money, but the happiness underneath that, or the control,
there's a lot of cracks.
That is absolutely, that's right. And
there's so much punishment.
Yes.
Punishment. And it's for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's for ourselves. And I think that, I don't have proof. I've kind of been open to this, like this thought process, and this question is, do people who have great success, does everybody come to the point of self-love? And I look at, so there's a lot of people who do have, I mean, we could talk about the president of the United States, right? Yeah. And he's had a lot of success, and he's had a lot of failure as well.
Yes.
But like, does he get to the point when you have that much success that at some level he had to fall in love with himself, right? To continue the level of success higher. And I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer yet, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, I'm going to say, like, some people will say that there's, that when you have money, this is a thing I hear all the time, that when you have money, that money is evil. People with money are assholes. People with money are bad. Yeah. Which of course they can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course they can be, but so can people who are poor.
Exactly. That's it. A broke person, someone who has no money, can still be a jackass.
Exactly. So, but I wonder though, like, do the people who have, and it's a question I'm like pondering and like opening to, the people who have true wealth and true success, do they have a level of love that they've had to go through to get to that place? Or can you just muscle your way to the top? And will you keep that money and that wealth, or will it fall apart somewhere else? And like, there's a part of me that's like, there's got to be cracks underneath somewhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no loving relationship. Yeah. Maybe they're alone. I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer, but it's kind of something that I'm like, I wonder. I wonder.
It's a nice thing to ponder, isn't it? Like, and that is what, and that is why I love the hedonistic way so much, is because wealth and success and happiness, to me, are embracing every single element of your life. you know, so they all feel good. And I know that, you know, you and I are marching to the same drum here, is in that is we can't show up authentically and be ourselves if we know that we are not coming from the most self-honoring place in that moment, no matter what that looks like, you know?
Absolutely.
And something that Andrew actually said the other day is about don't mistaken confidence for self-love.
Yes.
You know, and I loved that.
Because you can put a hard exterior on and be
Exactly.
falling apart inside. And I know I've been, you know, when I started business, I certainly put a brave face on, got on stages, did my speaking, and had butterflies like none other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I might have looked confident. What do they say? Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, and I guess for me, when I look at the impact on, and for me, my level of success is on impact and helping people change their lives. And my level of impact, I feel, has grown so much since I've become more vulnerable than when I was with a, I'll only show the parts that I want to. Yes. And I still only show that. I mean, there's still stuff I keep to myself, obviously.
Yeah,
but like,
and that's it.
But it's still always, I mean, and it was always me, because I can never be anyone else. I never could. Yeah. But there was definitely parts that were like, you know, I'm only going to share the businessy side. I'm not going to share what's really happening in my relationship. I'm not going to talk to you about the fact that I'm binge eating behind the scenes. I'm not going to, you know. Yeah. And so it's when you start to get more and more vulnerable with it all that I think the greatest impact is created. Absolutely. And the most openness to bringing change to other people by being yourself. And I think that I think that's how we truly leave a legacy.
Exactly. Absolutely. You can't make true change, I don't think, if it started on the basis of half-truths or, you know, anything that isn't real for you, right? You know, and I think that's why what we do matters so much. Because, you know, it is from that space where, yes, you know, there's still stuff that we will continue to learn, and there's still stuff that's going on perhaps that we don't air all the time, but we don't need to, you know. But as long as when we do share, and we share vulnerable in a time that feels good for us, and to honor and accept that, I think that there's a real beauty in that, you know. That's what I love about spoken word so much, is when I did spoken word last year, I did a course with Felicie Malay, and it was funny, is everyone in that, there was this process that we did where we shared with each other what we've learned throughout, at the end of the course, what we actually learned. And something that a lot of people said to me that they didn't actually know that other people had said was, you gave me hope that even the most confident people are still vulnerable. I didn't realize that was the mask that I went in with, because I was scared as hell of looking like a dickhead.
Especially spoken word, it ain't easy.
Yes.
I listen to you do spoken word, and I'm like, wow. I mean, to me, it's an inspiration to watch you. I think it's so powerful in seeing you show up in that. And so, yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And of course, I mean, if I went in,
and you have to be vulnerable, but that was a mask. Her confidence was a real mask that I can easily slip into, but behind the scenes, you know, it's not always the case. But the more vulnerable we are, the less masks that we want to wear and need to wear, which that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, the thing that just came to me is confidence and then belief. Like sometimes maybe, because I was thinking, I think that sometimes I'm going to say in the role that we can play, in being the leader, in showing our vulnerability, that it's important to remain confident. Sometimes even when you've like, I mean, how many times I've pushed post on a post that I've put out there that's so vulnerable, I want to cry that I've actually done it.
Yeah.
Fuck, that takes a lot of confidence and stuff, right?
Yes.
But it's fake. It's fake. Because I'm pushing, I'm like, oh my God, am I really doing it? But I think more than confident, it's the belief. I think that's what it is. It's that belief in self that is actually what's being portrayed. And I was thinking that ultimately what I feel is so important as leaders and leaders in the hedonistic way, in the vulnerable space, it's that people borrow our belief. People borrow our belief. And like when I look at people that I look up to, it's like they have a next level belief than I do.
Yeah.
Right? In themselves.
Yes.
And so then we get to be really, and it comes, I think maybe it could come across as confident, you know, but ultimately it's really that it's just that, well, half the time I'm scared shitless of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just believe in myself and my path and the alignment in which I'm walking, that there's no other way. So even when it's scary, as
absolutely, that's right, absolutely. But I think as well is that the word that kept coming up for me is, it is confidence, but a more embodied, for me, a more embodied thing would be we've got the courage to.
Yes.
You know, we've got the courage to, I feel really vulnerable and really exposed, but I'm going to hit the publish button anyway.
Oh, I love those posts.
Yeah,
it is. It's courage. You're right.
So, you have got a vast, actually, I want to ask something else first. So in that vulnerability, right, we're talking about leaders being vulnerable, leading from that space. How do you then show up as a leader and be vulnerable without coming across as a scatterbrain who doesn't have their shit together?
Ooh.
Yeah.
By not pretending to have my shit together.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, ultimately it's what it is, right? Like, I think that when we pretend that we have our shit together and we're scatterbrained, which I think any one of us is possible and capable of being.
Absolutely.
And when we pretend to have our shit together and then be vulnerable, like, to me, that is my shit together, I guess. You know, as I'm thinking, right? Like, it is having my shit together. Yeah. Because it's the willingness to go deep, to go, that ain't working. So what do I need to do to shift that and evolve so that I can be the person that creates what I want, that manifests what I want, that lives in alignment? And so that is having my shit together, but it doesn't, like, to somebody looking in, it may look like I don't. But I think it ultimately means that I do. Yeah. Because I'm doing it purposefully and consciously, which is what you spoke about earlier. Yeah. Whereas I think when people who are not looking in, this is a good question. When people who are not looking in, like, I think of people who are asleep and they walk around in life and they don't look within and nothing's working and they're trying to figure this shit out. That's when it looks, because they're bouncing. And I'm sure we've all done it. Yeah. When I first started in the coaching industry 12 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. There is a lot of bouncing around, and then you go try this thing. Oh, it didn't work. Try this thing. That didn't work. And these clients, okay, that's not working. Right. Yeah. But you don't really, and you're not looking, like, for me, when I first started, I didn't have the depth within myself to look deeper. Yes. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So then,
but can I say, there's people who I see are doing well. And, you know, they're talking about wealth creation or what, you know, or they've got, you know, they're building this big tribe. And maybe, hang on, let me say where I'm going with this, is the people that, you know, we've all kind of seen or noticed that are going, you've got this business, but you're constantly kind of sharing, like oversharing, or telling us about all of these situations that, you know, like how you're broke and how now you're not, and how it's only happened in the last 12 months and all of this, where with you, and I don't even know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, and I'm trying to piece it all together in that. So I apologize if I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, being a scatterbrain, talking about scatterbrain. But, you know, some people you look at and go, get your shit together. I don't even know what you do. You know, like all you do is talk about this, like, but where you run a business, but are you actually making money? Or you say you're making money. I question, let's say my bullshit radar is on a little bit, you know, because they feel like they feel really scattered in what they're doing. So I don't know what their core message is, right? But with you, and I think that's what I'm trying to get, let's open this up now, is because like for us and for everyone listening who's going to be listening a part of this summit and the hedonistic way, is how do we lead with vulnerability in a way that is courageous but also clear and direct, and we've got our shit together?
Good question. The thing that keeps coming to me is by speaking your truth.
Yeah.
You know, and I say this because, so when I first came into the online industry for myself in my own business, I called myself a business magician, and I was doing mostly things like feng shui, colors, numerology, and energy alignment into your business with marketing. How do we meet spirituality or energy alignment meets marketing? Yeah. And when we took off overseas for 4 months and then decided to do the overseas international move, totally unprepared for, it was all too much for me to actually keep my business going. So I just shut the doors. And I had a couple of things going on very slowly, minimally, but it was like, I did not have the energy for all of it. And a year ago, I started to go, it was a year ago now, I started to think maybe I should start to think about something again, but I don't know what it is. And I had the limiting mindset of, I'm only going to start my business again when I know how to incorporate all of me. When I know how to incorporate all of me. Well, that was a really stupid limiting thing, because then I was like, well, I'm never going to figure that out. And I had that belief. How am I going to ever figure this out? Like, how can I ever be all of me? I have a nutrition background. I have, massage and bodywork background. I have an energetic feng shui, colors, numerology background. I have a business background. How do you put all of these random things? I have an early childhood teaching background. I know a lot about conscious parenting. Like, there is so much that I could talk about any day of the week. How do I put that into a business that looks like people know what I have, that has this thing, right? And I got frustrated, and I banged my head against the wall, and I wouldn't do anything until one day I just went, I'm just going to start writing, and I'm going to start sharing my truth, and I'm going to see what happens. And I had no idea. I had nothing to sell. I didn't even try selling anything. I just started writing because that's what I was called to do. And this to me is that alignment, right? And so when you speak your truth and you speak from your alignment, and I don't try to be anything I'm not, then all I'm doing is being me. And people will then be attracted to me because I am me. And so I don't look scattered-brained because I can't be anything besides all of this, and it's all encompassing. And I think it was actually really, for me, it was really challenging in the other business to not be able to share the other things and not have it make sense. And when I was coming out and being this person, this business magician person that talks about these things, if I started talking about health and nutrition, it didn't make sense, and it would have looked scatterbrained. And so I didn't. And then I felt restricted. Right? And then I felt like, I just want to share what I want to share. And then people had to tell me that I was supposed to do like the 10 tips for feng shui, blah, blah, bblah, and the free tips. And I was like, okay, I can write that, no problem. But like, my soul was not feeling happy.
Alive.
Right? It wasn't feeling alive. And I think this is a really important point for a lot of people to hear. because it was in the letting go of what wasn't working in that business and just saying I love all of those tools, but the way that I was bringing those tools and the me to the world wasn't in full alignment. And so then I just started being me. And I think that that's how, by speaking your truth, it isn't scattered brains, because people just learn it's me.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be one person or one fit into one box.
Yes.
I'm just being me. And that means that I will speak about, you get to know me. I'm going to speak about parenting. I'm going to speak about health. I'm going to speak about body. I'm going to speak about the way that our mind and our body are connected. I'm going to speak about manifestation. I'm going to speak about all of it. I'm going to talk about wealth. I'm going to talk about my family. Now, this is a new part of my embodiment in the philanthropic world of my family that I've been speaking about, and the wealth creation. And like, that was a huge part of my entire life that was never spoken about. And there's no reason, right? Again, it's just me. And I think that when we start to speak that truth, then it doesn't feel scatterbrained.
Yeah.
Because how could it be?
Yeah, absolutely. And that place where, again, is it just, it's this beautiful thread that keeps kind of popping up, is the more we take those masks off, the more we allow ourselves to speak our truth, as hard as what that can be sometimes, you don't have to hide, you don't want to hide, and you're totally comfortable with where you're at. So in your sharing, it's not coming from a scattered place, it's coming from a place of, this is what my soul wants to say today.
Absolutely.
This is what's coming up for me in my body. And if it's coming up for me, I know that there's someone out there who needs to read this.
Absolutely.
And it's that level of trust, right? So that's a big one. Like, was it last year? Last year, maybe the year before, the beginning of it is, I realized that on the flip side of truth, the byproduct of that is absolute trust. And once that I got that understanding, I just went, oh, of course, like, yes. So it just, and I think the hedonistic way is we don't know everything on every single topic, but this is how we feel in this moment.
And tomorrow it might be different.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's absolutely. I had an interview late last year with this chick, and it was a coach, and quite a new coach, beautiful person. And at the end, we're talking about, this kind of thing and this kind of way of life and what that looks like as a coach. And she said, what can people do? What did you do to start to move forward? What did other people start to do to, explore this? And I said to her, I started asking myself, who am I today when I don't need anybody and they don't need me? Who am I then? And that for me was the exploration of truth that I really started to uncover, because I said to her, who you are today, you asked that question today, and she was like, that's great, because I just want to be on nature and I want to do this. I said, yeah, but tomorrow it'll be something else. She was like, what do you mean? Like, and I'm like, it will. Trust me, you do this. And it is absolutely different every day.
Every day. It's interesting because one of the questions that I would ask myself on a regular basis, on a daily, definitely on a daily basis, is what is alignment for me right now? What is it for me in today? Like when I wake up and I start journaling, I'm like, okay, so what is it that's important for me? What's my priority for the day?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And depending on, and I think this is so important because depending on your mood, like some days we wake up and we're flat. So why would I go and do the thing that's a full ton of energy? Okay, well, I could do that tomorrow. Does anything really have to get done today? Okay, well, let me ask myself, is there anything that really has to be done today? Let's get that done first. And then what's the next piece of alignment? And so it's a beautiful thing, because I think that then it means it's like, okay, well, today my thing is like, last week it was, I need to go sit in the bush and I need to go and be with nobody. And my husband's like, can I come with? I'm like, no, it's for me.
Exactly.
I love you. No.
Yep.
And then tomorrow it could be, yes, let's go for a bushwalk together.
Yeah.
And and today it was, I need to sit in bed until noon and I need to journal and I need to write, because that was where I was at. I had so much coming through me.
Yeah.
And then I got up and I had a really great clean, and and then I sat down and I spent a couple hours doing all the little details of the day that had to be done. And it's amazing, you know, how fast then you can get those things done, because you gave yourself the time to do the stuff that's really within you.
Yes.
You know, and I was actually thinking today, I was like, God, I really feel like today I could just sit and do mind work all day and listen to really cool, you know, mindset videos or sit in my journal or write. And I had so many things. I was like, I don't want to get on a live and all these, you know, like that's what I was feeling today. And so I gave it to myself.
Yeah.
And I think that is so important, because other days I get up and I'm like, all right, I've got this. I've got content to do here, this, and and I'm a goer on those days.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's how it is. And so I think it's really important it's the same thing as what you're saying is, who am I today? Well, what is my aligned action right now for the way that I feel and who I am being today? And I think that from that space, then you're never banging up against things that don't feel good to do, and then beating yourself up because you're like, I didn't get it done today. Well, no, you didn't get it done today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you weren't supposed to.
Yes.
And then you can feel shame around that or whatever, right?
Yeah. And then you can go journal that.
I could spend my whole day in my journal. Thankfully, I don't, and I actually go get shit done.
Love it. And that is there's a couple of things there. I want to go into your business model around that and how you created a business model around that. But first, I want to just add to what you're saying there is Monday, Tuesday this week, I think it was Monday, I had this, I was like, okay, right, I'm going to do my web page. I woke up, you know, went for a walk, come home, stretched, moved, meditated, journaled, set the intention that I wanted to feel accomplished at the end of the day. I had it in my mind that I was going to do my web page for the summit, but I went to my computer and I went, 2 poems just flowed. And I was actually halfway through one poem and I started another poem and then went back to the other poem, but it just went and it just flowed. I wrote 2 emails to my community. I did 2 Facebook Lives. I did 2 loads of washing, and it was all these things. And I'm like,
I love that when you shared that, your balance.
My balance, right? I thought of you because I didn't realize it had happened in 2s. And then when I wrote it down, I went, because for those of you who
and then we're in the month of February.
Yes. And it's my personal year, number 2. So I was like, for me, it was just a little sign of, to trust that, you know, I felt absolutely productive and accomplished at the end of the day. Did I do what I thought I was going to do? No, I didn't. Yesterday afternoon, one of my interviews got rescheduled. And then I was like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? Because then now it's this afternoon. And I'd already blocked out that time to kind of do other things. So I went, okay, just lay down, tap in. What do I feel like doing? And then, so this thing, and it's a part of this, a part of the summit, it's been floating around my head for probably about a week to 2 weeks. I've got to do this. But how am I going to piece it together? And then I went, did it in about 15 minutes.
Right?
15 minutes. I've been thinking about that bugger for 2 weeks.
Yep. You know, it's funny. I have a person who I know is a copywriter, and I remember he used to say that, like, if someone were to look at him when he was going through his day and he's writing copy and people are paying him, like, he's like a, you know, $50,000 for a sales letter type copywriter, right? And he's like, I could sit there for 4 hours and not write a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sit down and I write it. He's like, because I have to let it all play around in my mind, the whole thing. And I like, and it's, you know, poetry, our messages, it's an art form, and it doesn't just come because it's like I sit down and it's like I have to write now. It's like, no, it's all bubbling, and then it just is like, yes, and it moves through you, and all of a sudden, like, people ask me, how long does it take you to write those? I'm like, sometimes 15 minutes. Yeah. Because when it's ready, and it's got to come out, and it's like, I mean, it has to be pleasure, right? It's like an explosion. It's a release. And when I have it written in days, it's like, man, where is my release? I'm like jonesing to get it out because it's all this stuff bubbling, waiting. And so it's like what you were just saying, like, it can bubble for 2 weeks, but then it's like, but you can't force it to be there when it's not. And you just got to trust that process. It's like, just trust, like, by the time I need this to be here, it will be here. And there are times, and I'm sure you've probably done the same, that I've had to go into trainings. And like this week I did a training for my Manifesting Mindset Bootcamp. And the training was on forgiveness. And it had been bubbling in my mind, like, what am I going to do? And even I went to the gym that morning. I was like, what am I going to do? The call was at 3, and at 2 o'clock, I was like, okay, Keri, what am I going to do? Come on. And in like 30 minutes, there was the PowerPoint all rolled out, ready to go. And I was like, thank you very much. Right. Because like I knew it had all been bubbling along, processing through. And it's like, sometimes we put so much pressure on like that. We have to do it now because we said we would do it now. But if it's not ready, then it's like 6 hours of wasted time of you sitting and staring at a computer to get done what isn't done. And sometimes I love that, like that pressured. I was like, I'm going to give it's going to be okay. I'm going to sit down at 2 o'clock. And it will all be ready because I knew it would be. It's just it wasn't going to take that long if I didn't. We give it enough time, right? We give it the time, we let it give.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's right.
And the reality is that for most of us, and as we get into any of these trainings, the reality is that I could have done it all without a PowerPoint and just sat there and spoken of forgiveness for hours, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so when you release that pressure off of ourselves, right? When we release that pressure off of ourselves, then it's like, just again, it comes back to just show up and be me. And if I'm being me, then there's nothing that I ever have to worry about because it's all within me. So even if I'm delivering 2 hours worth of content, like, what do I have to prepare for? It's here.
Exactly. That's right. And you know, I think that often, you know, and I've done it myself a gazillion times and probably still do, you know, will continue to do it, is you have that thought or that sentence floating through you, and then you go, oh, it escapes you, you know, and you kind of try to get it back, but then now it's like you don't need to get it back because right now it's just brewing and it's simmering, and it's adding flavor, and this is what we're doing, and that is okay because when the moment is right, I know that the pressure cooker's off and the steam will just flow out, and that baby is just going to fly out. And it's that knowing, and again, that trusting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert who once talked about, she had the message to write a book. This was her. And she had a message to write a book, and she kept getting this message to write the book, and she keeps sitting down to try and write this book, but she just couldn't, it wasn't flowing out of her. So she kind of just let it go, but she was like, maybe, and she was toying with it. And then she ended up meeting another author, and I think it was somebody that she admired or something, somewhere down the track. And this author said, oh my God, I'm starting this book. And she's like, what's it about? And she's like, it's about, and Elizabeth was like, oh my God, I was going to write that book. Thank God I didn't write it. It was for you.
Yes.
You know, and I think it's such a beautiful thing, like these messages and these things that, like you said, like sentences that come or these thoughts that come. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I want to grab it. Shoot, 2 minutes later, it's already gone. Where is it? And I think it's this beautiful process of going, what is mine to hold? What is mine to speak? What is my truth to let out? And what is for somebody else? And when we let it go, it goes to the right person to speak that message, to speak that truth. Until it bubbles in us to speak it in our
beautiful, absolutely,
language or whatever.
Absolutely, I agree, definitely. So with all of that, like
Yes.
vulnerability, flow, doing the work that you feel inspired to do, and that working from alignment. How do you create a sustainable money-making business model out of that?
Outsource. I'm going to say it again. Outsource. I have an amazing husband who happens to be my person that is being outsourced things to at the moment. But even in the past, like when I was doing, when I first came out as business magician stuff, I've been outsourcing for 9 years now, almost 9 years now. But even then, and this is, I'm going to say this to the people who, and there are so many out there that are like, I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money to outsource. And I say, you don't have the money not to. Because even when I first started my business, years ago, online, I was also at the same time full-time in school, doing my leadership diploma. And I had a 2-year-old and I had one that was just starting kindergarten. It was a busy effing year. Yeah. And I will tell you that it's not one I would ever want to repeat. I grew my business. The only way that it happened, was because I outsourced. Yeah. And she took on all of the stuff that I couldn't possibly do. To this day, my husband looks at me, he's like, I had these ideas. He's like, that's just more work for me. Yeah. I'm like, bye, I'm off to the bush. I got to go sit for a while. I got to go because and I say this because in order, he's like, I've got everything sorted. You have 3 websites created. I'm like, sweet, thanks. Here's some more. But I say it because when we live in our authentic and our aligned selves, you should not be doing the work that makes you want to throw a computer out the window, because then you will not receive the messages or the flow. You will not receive your clients. Like for me, being on the computer, talking to clients, being on sales calls, doing my messaging, creating my content, coaching. That's what I'm meant to do. Yes. When I let go of everything else, because then I can easily through my day. And I know that my things are getting done. That website's getting done. The blog post is going up, the whatever. Yeah. And there's still way more that I can be outsourcing, and it will happen over time. But to me, that's how it happens, because if you're then bogged down into, well, I've got to create this website and it's not my forte. Like I did it earlier this year. I was trying to do a landing page for like a webinar or something. And I had already run this webinar. So I actually just was duplicating it and trying to like change dates and whatever. It wasn't supposed to be that hard. And I'm telling you, like 6 hours later, I was ready for the computer out my freaking window. Yeah. And my husband looked at me and he's like, why did you even start? Yeah. Because you weren't here and it needed to be done. Yeah. Sorry, go. So I just think that it's like one of those things that you stay in that. Yeah. You stay in your zone of genius, as people would say, right? But
if someone genuinely doesn't have money coming in, or they have to be across several parts of their business, they don't have a husband or a teenage son or daughter or whatever, that
just do the things that are still in alignment. Because I will also say that I've worked in businesses. So I have a mentor who I worked in his business for a while. And one of the things that I was supposed to take over was the job of the website creation. Yeah. And I wasn't going to do it, but like managing it, right? Yeah. And he ended up growing his business so rapidly that he ended up deciding he didn't want to have the website. I still don't think he has a website. And he was at multiple 6 figures. He's got to be at about a 7-figure business now, I guess. Yeah. And he didn't have a website. And then he started priding himself on, I don't have a website. I have a 2-page document that is my sales letter. Yep. And that's all I need. I have my presentation, a 2-page document in my sales letter, and my voice. That's all he needs. Yeah. And ultimately, I think people complicate business. Yes. Right? And like I say, it's like the getting ready to be ready. Yeah. And for the most part, most people out the door of business, if you're starting or if you don't have the resources to go build a website, to have the things outsourced, then don't do them.
Yes.
But don't do them yourself. And right now in this day and age, who actually looks at websites anyway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's not where people, I mean, yes.
Right.
Right? Like, yes, if you have the money and the resources, do it. But I'm telling you, like, he has a multiple 6-figure, 7-figure business, and he does not, I'm sure he still doesn't have a website.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You know, like, if you want to create, like, for me, I have it for my blog posts, and people come in, and of course, you know, and there's also other simple things. Like, for me, the way that I got around it was something like ClickFunnels. There's lead pages. There's other things like that you can put on a really simple. It will honestly take you a few hours to do. Really simple landing pages. You can actually put a few things on there for your own, so that people can find out who you are if that's what you want. And you make it really easy.
Yes.
You know, and even then you can have somebody else do that. And honestly, you can pay them a couple $100. It doesn't have to be this huge ordeal. Yes. But I would just say don't. I would just say don't do it, because staying in your zone of genius is what will bring you your clients and your alignment. The second then you step out of it and then you start doing the things that don't work for you and you're frustrated, then the whole world feels your frustration. And we align to things, we magnetically attract, we manifest things because of the vibration that we're at. So if you're at frustration because you can't get anything accomplished and all these stupid little day-to-day things that probably don't matter anyway, then you're just sending out the wrong vibes, and you're better off sitting with your journal, writing out whatever is important to you for the day, overcoming your blocks, sitting out, and I would say to the ends of the earth, doing your messaging, which you do not need a website for. You need a Facebook and an Instagram or whatever platform you choose to be on. Stick with one or two of them to begin with. Don't try to be across all of them, because if you're only doing one or two of them, you don't need a person to outsource to. You can manage that. And do that. Speak your message. But the thing is that people put all of these like fancy schmancy pants things out that they have to think that they have to have in order to run a business and look professional, when ultimately, where do we find each other for the most part now? Social media. Just be on social media and be consistently on social media and do it. And this is the thing that I've been talking to my clients about now, and I hear it all the time. And this is me as a messenger saying this, that people will say, oh, I wrote every day for like 2 weeks and no one bought anything. I'm like, well, keep writing. Right? And also, in regards to that, keep writing and realize that most people don't actually, there's like, how many stalkers are there in this world on Facebook? And you and I can say it. I will speak my truth too. Like, I don't like or comment on everything I read.
No, I don't.
I don't. But like, I'll still read it. And like, the amount of people, I was saying to some of my clients who were having this thing, I wrote every day for 30 days and it didn't change anything. I didn't get clients from that. And so my thing to that is like, either you weren't aligned to your message, you weren't aligned to the thing you were selling, or you just have to keep going, right? Because people need to know, love, and trust you. And they need to know that these day and age, they need to know that you are going to be there for the long term, and you're not going to just start this thing up, because this is what happens a lot, right? I'm going to show up, and then 30 days later, you're gone. And the product that you've sold is gone. And people are getting misled, and people are getting abused from people being mistreated. And so in order for us to overcome that,
they didn't get what they signed up for. You know, that happens a lot. You know, it's, well, I signed up because I thought I was going to get this, but I already know all this. You know, it's not
what I signed up for. And I think ultimately the only way we overcome that is by showing up, being our authentic selves. I say every day, but even if you go 4 or 5 times a week, right? Making sure that you are consistently there, and people will. And I literally, it was yesterday, I was telling my clients that in 24 hours, I had 3 people come up to me and start talking to me about a post they had read. Oh, Keri, hey, that was really cool about your grandparents, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I had no idea you even read that. I and forget sometimes when I'm out in public and people come and talk to me, I'm like, I forget that I've posted because I'm not on my social media world when I'm out in public.
And it feels weird. I don't know. I kind of really, my indica, I'm like,
I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I posted that. That's right. I forgot. I put my entire sleeve right on the, right. I got it right. But then I also had, and this is the thing about clients as well, right? People will trust you because they know that you are the real deal, right? And so I've had 2 people who I'm signing on as clients over the last 2 days. They don't comment on my things. They don't like my things. But one of them is like, Keri, you are a light in my life, and you have transformed so much just from your writing. And I'm like, and that's why you do it. And it's because of that. And don't assume that just because you've put your thing out there and someone hasn't liked and commented on it, that they don't read it. Because she's like, I read your post every single day.
Yep. Yeah.
She doesn't like and comment. And I think it's really important that we look at where is the biggest, I'm going to say, bang for our buck.
Yes.
And what we can do with our time and space. And so even if I didn't have my husband setting up really beautiful landing pages for me to put all of my freebies on and all these things, and wasn't putting my blog posts up, I still would be generating all of the same thing. And if all I had to do, and I've done it myself, when I didn't have him here, I couldn't be stuffed making a landing page. I just send them a document, a Word document that says, here, this is the information.
Yeah.
And people complicate that it has to be more than that. Do people sign up off of a Word document as long as they have the information? Yeah. Yes. Here's the Word document. Here's a PayPal link. Does it have to be any more complicated?
If there's trust, truth, everything, that's foundation. Yeah. And well, let's just say that is that maybe then can we say that this manipulated sales funnel of I'll take you on this journey and then I'll introduce this, is that only because they haven't got that foundation of truth and trust, and there's still a question mark as to if they're the real deal?
I don't know, because I still think funnels have a place.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question. How do you, because I agree, like we need a funnel of some description, preferably one that hasn't just been given to you and copy and pasted from someone else. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just
talking
saying.
About real and authentic.
Yeah. How did you package and price and create your sales funnel and services from this? I'm the real deal, I'm authentic, I'm genuine, I'm vulnerable, I've got my shit together.
It's a really good question. And I think it's definitely been part of my journey this year. So when I first got into business, I didn't price as high as I do now.
Yep.
Because I didn't have the belief in myself.
Yep.
And it wasn't that I didn't have the belief that I was good enough. I've been coaching for years. Because I coached for other people before I started my own journey.
Yes, same.
And coached in other people's companies before I started my own journey.
Another secret.
Tick.
We made other people a lot of money. Aren't we smart?
Yes, they made a lot of money off of me. But at the same time, I loved it because I didn't have to do all of this, right? I didn't have to do all the sales stuff. Yep. And it was like, it was a fair trade for me. I loved it. I just got to do what I love doing. Yep. And I showed up and I would coach hours a week. And so when I first came on, it was a lower end thing. Yeah. And ultimately, the big change that's happened for me this year has been in my value of myself and being able to increase my prices. And so I think that when you ask that question, there is a level of, well, how much are you valuing yourself at? And there's a level of work that has to be done, internal work that has to be done to go from charging $100 product to a $4,000 product, right? Yeah. And when you've done the internal work, you will choose to, you could be running the same program and you just raise the price, you know? Yeah. And then again, it's alignment. So when I price things, I check in. I just ask myself, what would be the aligned price to do for this? Yeah. And sometimes I play with it. And it's also not to say that there isn't low end products. Actually, I'm looking at, it's funny because it's an aligned thing for me at the moment. Like, what's the alignment to create this? But one of the things I'm looking at creating at the moment that's been asked of me for years is to do a program that's around feng shui, a program around numerology, and a program around colors. And how do we use that all in our life and business? And people have been asking me for years, especially about numerology. How do we use that? And I think there's been an alignment issue for me in it. Like, some of this to me, it's like, oh, it's so easy to find. It's not though. Like, I get it, right? I've done a lot of work and a lot of years of, but like for me to package it together in one place, for me, it's to me, and this is the difference in my pricing and how I choose this, it will be a lower end product because I know that it's content and information that could be, if you went and bought enough books, you'd find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to,
saving them
and I'm not going
time.
to, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh. And I'm not going to hold your hand, and I'm not
Yes.
going to be there to support you every day. And I'm not
Yep.
going to, so when you look at pricing, it's like, what is the touch point with me? Okay. So once I've created this program, I don't have to do anything. People can sign up. They can come and hear me and talk on a podcast or whatever.
Yep.
And they're going to go, yeah, that sounds good. They're going to go buy it, and I have nothing to do with it once it's done.
Yep.
And besides me talking about the message, which of course there is a lot for me to do with that.
Yes.
But I'm not holding their hand once they've bought that product. So it can be a lower end product.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to be talking to me on a regular basis, like they do in my Manifesting Mindset Bootcamp, you get access to me 24 hours a day. I mean, not really, but like you do. You can talk to me. I'll send you, when I'm ready to see you, I will see you. But you know, like it's a high touch point. So then it has to be at a higher level of price. And I think that's where you look at, well, what's my time invested in it? And then you look at the price for that. But ultimately, I know it just has to be, you have to do that internal work to believe that you're worth the thousands versus the hundreds.
Yes, I agree.
Have to.
So how do people do the work to create that self-worth? Where do they start?
Oh, honest truth.
Yeah.
Honest truth. Talking to someone like you or me.
Yeah.
If you really want to do the work, and I know that there are people, and I say this having been in the industry for 12 years, for having coaches on and off for 12 years. When I get my biggest growth, it's not because I did it alone.
Yeah. True.
It's not.
True.
It's not. It's because I had somebody.
A really long time.
Yeah,
That's
it is. It could take me a year, or it could take me 2 weeks. And it can be that big of a difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know it with your clients, my clients.
Yes.
Like some of them have been struggling for years, and then all of a sudden it's like within 2 sessions with me, they're like, Keri, I just got da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I know, it's because you just let go of the stuff that wasn't serving you.
Yeah.
But the problem of doing it yourself is that you don't see in the shadows.
No, that's right.
Right? Like we have all of these lurking things. We're all human. We all have ego, and we have all this stuff, all of these beliefs that we've grown up with, embodied into ourselves. And they're sitting in literally pockets in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
If I talk about the physicality of it, it is literally sitting in you somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's in a shadowy place. And until the light is put onto the shadow, you won't even know that it's there. You don't know, which is why you're in the place. And I say it's like the circle that you run around and you run around. And I think it's in the Big Leap, they talk about having that glass ceiling, right?
Yeah.
And so we hit this glass ceiling, and you can't break through it because you don't know what you don't know.
No, that's right. Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. And so either there's an internal block within you that you can't even see. So even if you sit and journal till the cows come home, if you haven't been told or shined a light into the place where you need to journal, then what are you journaling on? And you're running in circles. I mean, I've done it, right? Run in circles in my journals. I'm like, man, I talked about this 2 days ago. Still in the same place. And even with healers, and I have a friend who I've been working with for years on mindset and healing work, right? And she'll come up and she'll say things. I'm like, far out, seriously? 3 weeks ago we did the same one. She's like, yep, you have another layer of it, but it's always a deeper layer, right?
Yeah.
Because she could pull that out of me and go, okay, so we're gonna look at this spot over here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we didn't clear that one before. Okay. And so I think it's really, really, really crucial, quite honestly. Yeah. And if you, for whatever reason, are going to create some, and I'm going to say it, create some excuse as to why you cannot work with somebody, which I believe, truly, honestly, if you really believe in yourself enough and your mission and your alignment and your purpose on this planet, you will find the resources and the time to work with a mentor, coach, healer, person to help you to uncover the shit that you're not seeing. Yeah. But if you're going to create an excuse as to why you don't, then I would still say journal. I would still say, I would still say, if you're going to start journaling, that you start with just letting the mind go and dumping the stuff that's in there and asking the deeper questions. And I think this is where the coach is so important, because I know for myself, it took a while to be able to ask myself those questions. And so often, and like even in conversations with good friends, and if you surround yourself with amazing friends, this can also help, because there's times that even in conversations with you and I, it's like, hey, Keri, did you just say that? Oh, I did. and you pick up on it and you don't realize at the time, or like, hey Renee, let me just call you on that.
Yeah,
Stop,
yes,
look,
I agree.
right?
Yep.
And so, but if you don't have somebody that's reflecting that back to you, then you can't go digging for how that's affecting your life.
Yep.
And ultimately, I would say that that's it. Otherwise, look for everything that I've learned in this world I've paid for. Quite honestly, like when I really look in the deep truth of it, everything that has taken me on a journey, I've paid for it at some level.
Yep. Yep.
And then to have that knowledge, I mean, if you have your own tools, whoever's listening has their own tools of depth and digging, use those too, obviously.
Yes.
But if they're not working for you, you know, and like some people, I'm not a fan of, not that I'm not a fan of, I just don't use EFT very often. Like it's not it's my favorite tool, but you can go off and you can look at tools like that. There's YouTube videos on things like that. There's
there's lots of different, like, you know, there's lots of different processes and tools and things like that. But sometimes as well, like when you were talking just then, is maybe even a simple prompt as to what am I not seeing, and journaling that.
That's right.
And then just that conscious stream of writing, or, you know, unconscious stream of writing rather.
What's my alignment for today? What would my aligned life look like? And I know for me, when I ask the question from every coaching client I've ever had, I always ask the question, what's your ideal look like? What's your ideal life or day look like?
Yeah.
And when I used to ask the question, I'd be like, write for pages. And then people would be like, they'd send me 4 sentences. And I was like, are you serious? Because if that's all you got, you're not going to create it, right? And so you can look at like visualization and creating and like imagining. This is a huge thing that people will talk about in this world, right? Imagining what you want. But you have got to imagine it to the last detail, because you will always get what you ask for, what you think about, and what you're looking for.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we don't fill in all of the gaps to what we're looking for, then you get the missing pieces that you unconsciously brought up that you didn't even know that you were bringing to attention.
Yes.
So for example, if we're looking for an ideal, I see it all the time with ideal men, right? You're bringing in your soul, or women, soul partners. And I used to do it, and people, you know, I always have my clients used to have them always write a list of what your ideal soul partner would look like. And then I had them send it to me. And so often they've like left off so many important things, like, hello, they're in the same vicinity of you, right? You know, how many times have you heard it? I found my soulmate. He's on the other side of the world, and neither of us can move countries.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you didn't dial that in to what you wanted. And so it is important. And even at that point, it's like, give it to a friend. Hey, what am I missing? You know, like write down what it is that you want in your life and start focusing on exactly that. And then looking at now, so then you could ask yourself the question, like, what's stopping me from getting this? What's stopping me? What's the thing that's not, what am I afraid of? Like, there's all these questions that you could ask yourself and just start. You know, but like ultimately I'd say that one of your first places then, if you're not, you know, like on that note, is to be really, really freaking clear about what you want in your life. Like every day clear.
Absolutely.
And then the beliefs too, like what you want to believe and who you want to be. These are like the most important things that you can start to do within the mindset and energy work, is what beliefs do you have? So this ultimately means that you get to look at the person who is already doing what you want to be doing and figure out what they believe. And if you don't know them, somebody like you or me, right? If you follow us on social media, you'll find out a lot of our beliefs. Right? It's pretty easy. We put them out there. And so you can start to go, okay, so what do they believe? What would it mean for me to believe that? Is that a belief that I want to take on? You know? And
we would always
like
encourage to use your discernment.
Absolutely. Because just because it's right for me doesn't make it right for you. You know? And then who do you get to be? Like when you look at the person who's creating, and I also in discernment, I also, when I say this, mean like, look at the person all around of a person who's doing your life. in business, in health, in relationships, in blah, blah, blah. And it might not be the same person, right? So like I look to my gym, and I look at the girls and the guys who are incredible at what they're doing in the gymnastics, you know. My husband, I mean, seriously, like that dude like rocks gymnastics like none other for an adult. And it's inspiring. So then I look to them and I go, okay, so what do you do? How are you showing up? You know, how often are you training to be able to do this? What are you eating? All these things. And then go, okay, so what if that fits for me? Yes. And then I might go, okay, so in the business world, who's doing what I want to be doing? And not just, and like this is where I think people fall into a trap with business, not just creating wealth or money or whatever success, but look at the rest of their life. Because a lot of people out there creating money, but their health is fucking shit.
Yeah.
Their relationships are falling apart.
Yes.
They're traveling so much that they're actually going to be divorced because their wife never sees them, has been dumped with the kids for 300 days of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not actually the life I want.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So then don't model that person.
Yes.
Model the person that is living a lifestyle that you want to be living. So for example, if being able to go sit in the bush for the day to do your journaling work and your mindset work and soul retrieval work is what you think is amazing, then you're going to want to follow somebody like us. If being a grind to it is what you want, then follow somebody else. You know? And I think that's what's important. Like when you start to look at like, how do you get to embody and be and create the results? What's the next step? It's that, like, to me, it's like, you've got to have a really, really, really clear picture to what you want in your life.
Absolutely. You pick up on there, Keri, a really good distinction, because I think when we look up to people, it's really, and they might go, okay, I've downloaded this person, like, yes, I like this person, I look up to this person, they're on my vision board, I want to be just like them. But if you dig a little bit deeper and look into their actual life, like in the business world, if they look up to someone, wow, they're constantly traveling, they're doing all these events, they're hustling, they're doing whatever. But so if you look a little bit deeper and you go, well, for example, me, I can look at other people and go, wow, they're traveling all over the world. They're pretty much got a nanny for their kids or, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the life I want to lead. I want to, yes, travel, yes, to have all of these amazing experiences, but I want to be there for my kids.
Absolutely.
I want to greet my kids at the end of the day, at the end of, school day or whatever. Maybe not every day, but certainly most days. I want to kiss them goodnight most nights. I want a succulent, beautiful, sensual, amazing relationship with my partner. I want lots of money. I want to serve in a beautiful way. I'm not going to follow someone who is like the person that you just described, who is away for 300 days of the year, who is disconnected from their partner, so dig a little bit deeper.
Yep.
Is what we're saying. So choose your
role
models wisely.
And really think about, is that what you really want? Because so often it looks the cool thing.
Yes.
Having traveled for events, you don't see the city. You're in a building.
Yeah, exactly.
You fly in, you fly out, you're in the building. You're like, oh, look, I have an hour to go drive around. What am I going to see?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Let's go. And you run long, huge days. You have to pack in and out of like your supplies.
Yes.
It's huge. It's huge. Like when I was first in the industry, I was working with a massive personal development company. We would put on 1,000-person events.
Yeah.
It's a huge task and undertaking. And I can tell you, after 4 days or 5 days on the road, come back 2 days, 5 days on the road, you're knackered for 15-hour days. Yes. It's not what it looks like.
No, it's not.
And it was tons of fun. I loved it. I loved it. For the time that it was. And I stopped when I was pregnant with my first kid because I was like, no way.
Yep. Exactly.
And I wouldn't want that life anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And you go, you know what, like if you wanted to like if it feels genuine to you, whatever it is, you know, go do it. But yeah, absolutely ask yourself really what that looks like. What I want to ask you is and backtrack a little bit is to, you know, for me, like the beauty of having amazing people around you who call you on your shit. You said that before, and I wanted to bring that up just again before I ask you the next question, because that I think is really crucial, is having
So
that
important.
around you is so, it's so important to bounce ideas off of like-minded people. Be selective about who you hang out with.
Oh God, yes.
You know, and make sure, and if you start something and if it's not right, it's okay. You know, it's all right. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. It's fine. But surround yourself with really cool people. Absolutely. And call you on your shit from a place of love.
Absolutely.
Understanding. What I want to ask about now is in regards, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but manifesting, and I know that you were talking about earlier that it takes conscious effort, and I know you're very particular about certain things that we are bringing in, calling in, manifesting. A lot of people are talking about manifesting at the moment, and you know, I think that it's this kind of elusive, you know, kind of thing. What is my question around this? I want to ask about your tools. So essentially it's all your, I know, you know, your numerology, your feng shui, your you know, your manifesting, your everything else. How does it all play out? What does it mean? Like, what can we do? What can we bring in? What's important? What takes effort? What doesn't take effort? What can we kind of think about? What can we let go of? Does that make sense?
The reason that I love feng shui, numerology, and colors is because it doesn't take effort.
Yeah.
It's the reason I love it, you know, like, and that's why to me it's still part of my toolkit and why I want to create these programs that make it easy, because it doesn't require me.
Yeah.
And it empowers you to be able to use them on a daily basis. And I think a lot of people, like, the thing that I teach is that it is a daily basis, you know, like whenever I'm banging my head against the wall in my human self and things aren't happening the way that I want them to, I generally stop and I will often do something for feng shui. I will often clear or cleanse something because it just works.
Yeah.
So for example, each room of your house has a specific energy. And so if you're like, so your bedroom, we're sitting in our bedroom, it's all about your own personal identity. So if I'm working on something and I'm having identity issues of like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? I would work in my room and I go, okay, I'm going to go clear it out. And I'm going to go and I'm going to look at, literally, I'll probably pull out the closet. I will clear out clothes, but most specifically, I will look around the room and I go, how many times do we have the laundry hampers that are not put away, and all the stuff that gets left out?
Yeah.
And I will go and I will clean. And this is what's important, like clean, like clean the walls, clean, vacuum under the bed, clean the sheets. I will clear. I will sage the room. I will do all that kind of stuff. So that I clear the energy. And as I'm doing it, oftentimes things bubble because you're just doing your thing, right? You've blocked out the world and you're cleaning your room.
Yeah.
And I don't do it like, it's not something when I clean for intention. I clean for intention. It's not like that's my intention, is to clear stuff and allow things to bubble up within me that bring me answers. Yes. And so often, like the amount of times I've had people and it works like that. Like my husband one day asked, I came home, we were in Australia, and he was weeding out in front of the house. But it was weird because he was weeding like it's a footpath that was in front of our house, which is obviously public property. Yeah. And he's like pulling out like these tiny little weeds, and he's going all around this whole garden, and he's going around the garage, and like he's in places I'd never seen him go. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm marketing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, only between the two of us, Would that make any sense? And
Yes.
would that be logical? My husband has a massage business.
Yeah.
And personal training fellow, all type stuff.
Yeah.
So so he so later that day I said, how'd your marketing go? He's like, oh, I got too many clients. I'm like, perfect. Right? So, and it happens all the time. So it can happen with ease with those tools. And that's what I love about it, because it's just energy. And when we have a stagnant energy in our home, and the thing with numbers is, like, I look at it within your business, and if your numbers aren't aligned to what you are wanting to do in your business, then you will bang up against walls. Yeah. So for example, like, I had a photographer who wanted to come to New York. She was in Sydney, and she didn't know anyone in New York. She's like, I want to do photo shoots in New York, and I want to do a speaking gig. And I was like, all right. So we looked at her numbers. We feng shuied her house. And within 2 months, she was in New York, 7 photo shoots, 2 speaking gigs. One of them was a Desperate Housewives of New York. I still to this day have no idea how that all eventuated, but nothing changed except for that we feng shuied in her numerology. And she had numerologically, her email address and her phone number weren't in alignment for what she wanted. Yeah. And so she changed them. I don't know that she ever changed her phone number, actually. I won't say that. I know she changed her email address. Yeah.
How do you work out your numbers for an email address? So every letter has a number. So is it like every letter is 1? Is that how it works?
Up until A, B, C, D, E, up until 9.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, 9.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to 1. So K will be 1.
Oh, okay. Right. Right.
And so, yeah, that's how you do it. And all the letters have a numerological equivalent, and then you add up all of that. It's a bit of a tedious process. Yeah. And then you can find out the numerological energy of it. So that makes things easy. Like, that's my easy way of doing any manifesting work and being in alignment energetically on all levels. Yeah. And I think the conscious stuff is what we do in our mindset, and what we choose to think. And what we choose to believe. And it's always, that's the deep stuff. Like, it's looking at and uncovering, like, well, what is stopping me? What is the belief that is stopping me? And then just choosing a different one. And I think so often, the awareness that comes just from having that opening of, like, that's what I'm thinking. That can be like the biggest, like, you don't even have to do anything else.
No, yes, I agree. I absolutely agree.
You know?
Definitely.
And there are some things for sure that I think that, that belief is so ingrained that there are beliefs that I've had that I'm like, are you ever going to leave me?
Yes.
Can you leave? I let you go, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and especially in those times, it's like there's obviously healing work and there's deep work to be done. And, and I often at those points will definitely be asking friends or healers to be doing work with me on that level, because when we hold on to beliefs that don't serve us, then that stops us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say that to me is a difference between the ease and flow stuff and the fun stuff, and the more conscious stuff. I also use creative expression. So that was part of my diploma, was creative expression. So oftentimes I'll do things like paint, which is fun.
Yeah.
Dance. Yeah. Work with clay, drama. Even things like you doing your spoken word, right? Yeah. There's a release that comes with that. There's a manifestation. There's a consciousness that comes with that. Yes. And there's a healing that comes with that. Yep. Right. And so I think that kind of work is the more, I guess, you can use that consciously, but it can also be really playful and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that you just tapped on there is, it doesn't need to be deep and hard. And that's something that, I think it really feels like when we're doing this work, and, if you're in business or marketing or, on social media and manifesting or spiritual work or personal development, it feels like you're in the trenches all the time. It feels like you have to go through these Olympics of friggin' round robin of crap every single day to actually get anything done. But it can be done in a way that feels good, and it can be easy and fun.
It should be fun.
Yes.
It should be fun. And that was what we were talking about earlier with, like, you know, when you asked me, how would you run a business way? It should be fun.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing it otherwise?
Yes.
If it feels like a drain and it feels horrible and you don't want to be doing it, then go get a job.
Yes, that's right. Exactly, that's right. Or, you know, or if you're doing any spiritual practice or personal growth or whatever, and if it doesn't feel good, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like,
that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there's a lot of people who like EFT.
It's not for you.
It's not a hugely aligned thing for me. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. A lot of people just swear by it, but for me, it's like, I'll take it or leave it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's right. And
you just don't do.
The beauty of it is there's, you know, there's so many
bazillion tools.
Yes. Yep, that's it. And don't feel embarrassed or ashamed or feel like, oh wow, but everyone's talking about this at the moment, and EFT has been another one, you know, human design is another. There's so many different things, and people seem to talk about it all at once. But you go, if it's not calling you, don't do it. It's actually okay, but explore what is exciting you. Is it colors? Is it moving? Is it writing? Like, what is your vice? And, you know, be okay with that.
And be willing. And the other thing I would say is be willing to explore it more than once. So, for example, my husband has a huge thing against writing and journaling. And I'm like, dude, like this, like, to me, journaling is like, just keep going. Because
I know,
honestly,
I love it. Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's had massive success. Like, even if you look at like the billionaires, what do they do every day? They write their journals and they do their goals. Like, almost everyone will say it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, just freaking get over yourself. Because when he actually sits down to write, like, he writes beautifully and has all these things. I'm like, really, what the problem is with your journaling is you don't want to look within, right? Yes. And that's really the ultimate. I will say to him, that's really the ultimate problem. Yes. And so what I will say though is that, like, keep exploring until, and I just said to him, just try it, because like you're putting it as a no before you've even given it a go. Yeah. Let me help you consciously try this, and then try it for a few weeks. If you hate it, then do it. Don't do it, right? Yeah. But try it first. EFT, like I did it a lot before. I was like, and sometimes I do still pull it out, like every so often. I'm like, oh, maybe I should tap on that. But like dancing, like there's so many ways, you know. Like for me, like when I forget about dancing, I'm like, oh, I forgot about it. And then I start dancing again. I'm like, oh, how did I forget about this? Yeah. Right? Or singing. Like I have found in life that if I don't have music playing and I'm not singing, then I end up in a sad place. And I don't mean it like on purpose, but there's like, to me, I've noticed that connection. So to me, like, I will often have headphones in my ears with music going. Thank God I found Spotify. And so and good. I was singing. Thank goodness for that, right? And I started to get to the point where I was like, I've said to my husband, like, if you notice that I haven't listened to music for weeks on end, which doesn't happen anymore, but it did for a while.
It's a big one for our house. We're every day, I would say we've all got the time. Music on here.
And there's messages in music, and there's soul to music, and there's healing in music, and it's so beautiful. And that's the whole thing. Like, it can be. And then we dance around the house and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I think there's so many ways that we can have that expression, we can have that freedom, we can have fun in the transformation in every single day life, all day long, every day, and feel free to express it in a way that feels aligned for you, but just keep playing with, you know. And like, when I first picked up a paintbrush, I wanted to cry. My teacher was like, you have to do this thing. We're doing like a chakra map, and I was having to paint this thing out from a journey I'd been on, and I was like, I honestly wanted to cry. I'm going to destroy this. I'm going to ruin it. I'm going to fuck the whole thing up. And she's like, just paint, Keri. You can't mess it up. I'm like, oh, I can. I already did. Just picking the paintbrush up. It's never going to look like what's in my head. She's like, it's not supposed to. Just paint. And so it took me, and I say that because it took me time. Like, it took me a long time. And then I did a creative expression leadership thing, and my teacher, she was my shamanic teacher. And then we go to this creative expression training diploma. And I looked at her one day, because I just kept giving her these looks of like, I can't believe you're making me pick up that paintbrush again. And she looked at me, I think we were in module 2, as I'm picking up the paintbrush, giving her a look in my face. And this is like 8 months after we've been together, maybe 10 months that we've journeyed for a while together.
Yeah.
And I'm in the second module, and I look at her and I give her that nasty look again. She looks at me, she's like, you know, you signed up for a leadership and creative expression diploma, don't you, Keri? I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. I still hate this paintbrush. But now what did I just say, right? Now for me, it's like one of my places to go is paint.
Yep.
Any day of the week. But sometimes we have to go through those, like, we have to be, you know, like it's because ultimately, and at the same time, it was, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel, I was shameful. I was, you know, and that through that journey, right, I'm going to fuck it up. It was all about me. It had nothing to do with the paintbrush.
No,
right?
no.
I didn't want to express that part of my heart. I didn't want to, right? And so it was through the pushing through the uncomfort of the mode of expression that the biggest breakthroughs happen.
Yeah.
And so I say that it's like, you know, find a way that works for you, but be willing to explore it.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Exactly. No, I agree. And sometimes the things that we reject the most is what we need the most, is what's calling us the most. So, and it has the most transformation in that. So yeah, absolutely. That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, my dear. I've had fun with you today.
Yes, it has been good. It's been so lovely. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And there's so many nuggets that we've spoken about in this. But I will put all of your details below the video so people can get in touch with you. If they've got any questions, we can do a follow-up and make sure that, you know, if there's any Q&As and things like that. But I'll put all of your details below. But yeah, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for being a part of my life. And
thank you for being a part of mine, my beautiful Renee. I love being in your life. I love you in my life. And I love conversations with you. And I love what you stand for and what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you and so grateful that you are shining your light in this world.
Ditto, my love. Absolutely ditto.